our next speaker is Camilla. Sometimes we just go with it. So when Camilla sent me her request for a talk, I just didn't ask any questions. I thought, sorry, this should work. Forward. Please, okay. God, let it work. Camilla, please don't build a toilet.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So there's going to be two parts to this talk. The first one's going to be me ranting a little bit, and then the second one's going to be me telling you some lessons I've learned and how to not do the thing in the beginning that I'm ranting about. So when people want to try and make an impact, they're always looking at like, okay, how can I support different communities, or people go around and they're like, which charities can I work with, etc. And there's a lot of, there's a $2 billion industry of people who want to go and save the world and do something good and feel better about themselves. 18% of the funds normally that are raised actually reach the communities. A lot of the funds go towards flights or things like that, or to the companies that are running it. And there's about approximately 10 million voluntourists, which is what they're called at the moment, who travel to the global south, so mainly in Africa, but also some to Asia, every year. Now, a lot of the time, they think they're doing something good. They think they're doing something to help communities, and they think that they are in a position to do that. And unfortunately, the whole industry, and why it's called an industry and not like, I don't know, a charity, is because it is all about making the money. So when I grew up in East Africa, anecdotally, I knew about this story of, there was a group of American teenagers who would come every year to build a toilet block for a school. And every year, once they'd left, they'd tear it down. And then the next year, a new group of teenagers would come in and they'd build it again. And this was anecdotally. So I was like, I've known about this story for a long time, and I knew it growing up. We were always laughing about it. It was a bit of a joke. But when I came up with this talk, I was like, okay, let me actually do some research and see if there are other instances of this that have evidence. So I've got 3 that I want to go through at the moment. There's another one from Tanzania, so the same place I was growing up. This was a library, but it wasn't that they'd tear it down each year. It's that every night when the teenagers or students or whoever had gone to sleep, they would hire local craftsmen or carpenters or builders to come and redo all the work that they'd done. So not only were they taking the money from the kids to go and feel good about building this library for this poor community, they were then hiring engineers from the local community to rebuild all of the stuff that was done. Because obviously, these are teenagers who have no idea how to build anything. So they've got no concept of whether they're doing a good job. So every night, it would get rebuilt, and then at the end of this day, they thought they'd done an amazing job. They're like, well, look at our library, it was beautiful. In Cambodia, apparently, there was it was a study someone had done, and he went around asking that people were letting similar kind of things, volunteerists come and build their house through these organizations. And the guy who was researching, he asked one of the owners of the house, he was like, but why would you let them build the house? Like, you know you're gonna have to rebuild it, you know it's gonna fall down. And he's like, yep, but they pay money for it. They'll pay me to do it, so fine, I'll just build it again. Obviously the same house that he was asking about was destroyed by some wind, and then they had to rebuild it again. A little bit more difficult or sad depressing, I don't know, is in Ghana, there was such a large volunteer student population within the medical industry that people stopped buying insurance, the local government insurance, and then once the volunteers left, then the government had no money to support the system, and the healthcare system went through quite a large collapse, and they had to kind of try and rebuild it because this rug had been pulled out from under them. So if you think you're helping, sometimes you're really, really not, right? So I like to help people. I want to think that I'm helping. And we've been through a little bit of a similar story, unfortunately. I will be open and honest and say that I fell into the same white savior trap. I grew up in Africa. I'm from Tanzania and Kenya. What I'm talking about happened in Kenya, but I still fell for some of the same tropes and a little bit disappointed in myself about that. But it happens, and you learn, and you move on and grow from it. So our plan, when we built, some of you might know, we've got a co-living in Kenya where one of the things when we built it was we wanted to make an impact in the community and be part of the community and support as much as possible. And we have tech backgrounds, and so we came up with a huge plan. So Nairobi, which is the capital of Kenya, it's known as the tech savannah or something, I can't remember the name of it, but it's got there's a lot of tech people there. It's kind of, people are there that know tech, and we're like, okay, cool. So we're going to a small town. Let's do coding courses for kids, and let's try and get the next talent from the young kids in the town we're in. Give them more opportunities, because at that point in time, and still now, most of their opportunities come from hospitality because it's a very tourist town. So we were like, okay, we're going to run an inter-school coding competition. We're going to choose the best students from that competition. It could be I think it was not just coding, but it was going to be like a maths competition. We're like, okay, we'll choose the best ones. We're going to then select those ones and put them into an intensive coding school and produce the next generation of Kenyan tech talent from this small town, using the nomads that come to stay at Skippers to provide their support and input and their knowledge, etc. And we'll feel good about ourselves, because yay, we've done something really good. Yeah. So we started by going to a bunch of different schools, and we have had nomads doing career talks at these schools. Great reception. The kids were all really interested. They were really like, wow, this is amazing that you can do this while traveling the world, and it's cool to hear about. They were really receptive. We then realized that none of them had seen a computer. And so we were like, right, okay. How are they going to get to this course if they haven't seen a computer? So for context, like I said, we're in Diani, which is quite a large town. It's very near another large city, but the county that it's in is very remote. These are just a couple of photos of just very near the town. It's empty. The schools there are very few and far between, and it's, electricity's unlikely for a lot of houses, so a computer is very unlikely. So we took a step back. Just a few stats about Kwale County as well. So Kenya launched a computer program curriculum, and it's meant to be in all public schools. However, at this point in time, still in 2025, only 40% of schools nationwide have a functioning computer lab. So it's in their curriculum, they're meant to learn it, but they have no access to the actual computers. That's across the country though. In the county that we're in, only 3.8% have got 1 to 20 computer to student ratio. So really, really low. Across the country, we're one of the lowest counties. 6.3% of Kwale youth have ever seen a desktop or a laptop. So we're talking really, really low. So we started the career talks maybe 2 years ago. We had to take a step back. We stopped for a while and we were like, we need to regroup and think about how we can get to where we want to get to, or where should we get to. So about 4 months ago, we decided, okay, the only way we're going to get to do this is we're going to need to provide laptops. We're going to need to provide the infrastructure if we want to provide any kind of training. And so to do that, we stopped all of our Google ad spending for the co-living, and all of that has been reinvested instead into the buying of, at the moment we're at 10 laptops in a single school. So we went around the schools and there was one school that we were very close by and it was a good headmaster, and we came up with a partnership and we explained what we wanted. And we let him talk. We let him tell us, okay, what does he think will be beneficial? How can we get there, and how can we improve the computer access for the students? One of the things that we actually hadn't thought about that he brought up was that actually we needed to get the parents buy-in, because the parents in that town, all they see as a career for their kids is hospitality. So convincing them to have their kids come out of either lessons or come in the weekends to learn about computers was like, we had to tell them why this was important. So we had to win over the parents as well. Once we got that, we got Starlink, so we had connectivity, obviously when the school has power, which is not always, but it's like 95% of the time for this school, luckily, so it's not too bad. We then built a two-session induction course, which was literally just teaching them how to turn the computers on, how to access the internet. We're using Google Words. Yeah, Google Suite for all of the students, so they all have their own accounts, their own Google accounts that they can access certain things. Because they're all Chromebooks, they're all like super locked down, so they can't just sit there accessing porn because they're 16-year-old boys. It's gonna happen. So we had to do a lot of locking down of things like that. And then we trained the teachers how to run it themselves. A lot of the teachers had some knowledge of computers, but not like really deep or understand everything, so we had to do some training of the teachers as well. A lot of this was very quick. We built the computer lab in a week. We did a lot of the training of the teachers really quickly and stuff. But the point of the training the teachers was that, as with all of the other bad stories of the volunteerism, is that it needs to work without you. So it can't be something that they are dependent on you for. Obviously, with the school that we are in partnership with, the laptops are ours. We are loaning them to the school. It is a partnership, but the skills that we're teaching them, they are theirs. That they are able to run. When we're not there, they do have full access to the computers. The students have access to the computers at all times, and they can do all of their online learning, etc. And we've got, I thought I had another slide, sorry. I think the school that we are working with has 425 students, and we've now got 230 of them through the first 2 induction courses, sessions, and they are using them for their learning, so they are using them for improving their homework or doing research and things like that. I think there's Obviously, some kids are going to be more interested than others. So I think we've got about 20% of those are using them like every week, and then the other ones are kind of coming in and out and testing them out. Next phases obviously is going to be trying to provide them more structured courses that they can follow and tell them exactly where to find things. We've got it's called CK12 that they use at the moment, that helps them with their homework and stuff, that is really good for their curriculum. But you know, we realize we're not teaching them coding, we're just giving them access to laptops at this point, because they need that for their curriculums. So the lessons we learned were listen first, plan later. The first time when we were doing the career talks, we hadn't really talked to the headmasters. We hadn't really understood what they wanted or what they needed. So we kind of just went in and been like, hey, we're tech people, we're just gonna do like coding courses. It doesn't work like that. We were completely shooting at the wrong level. Also, make sure you know what they need and not just, oh, we can do this. If what you're providing isn't useful for them, it's just going to be useless. For the redirect money before time, obviously if you're going and building a library and you've spent $3,000 as a teenager to go and build a library, it might have been a lot better to just give them that money or to provide it to charities that know what they're doing, rather than just spending your time. Make sure from day one that you're preparing them to take it over and to have control over it. Again, like I said, if you're not giving them the skills, then you're just doing it for yourself. And instead of trying to access all of the schools in Qualla County and get all of the students, we said, okay, it's actually going to be more beneficial for one school. Our plan is to expand. We will go to more schools. We will try and expand it to another school within the next few months, hopefully, but start small, see how you go, figure out what all of the issues are with your plan, etc. Then go bigger. Don't start big with a whole coding competition, because it's just not going to work. Another thing you have to do, obviously, is leveraging your own community. So that's what we've done. We get a lot of so we take money from our profits at Skippers. Well, profit's a big word. we take from people who pay us to stay at Skippers. Some of that money goes towards buying the next laptops. We also have a small pizza restaurant that also, a percentage of that always goes towards the next laptops to be purchased. We also say that guests can volunteer if they volunteer a set amount of time, because the 2 induction courses or sessions are basic enough that any nomad would be able to do it, because for us it's very much just a day-to-day, how do you send an email, how do you open a laptop, etc. So there's nothing complicated that someone wouldn't be able to volunteer there. We do also obviously accept donations, but we also tell our guests that if they're coming and they happen to buy a Chromebook and bring it with them, then we're going to accept the Chromebook as a donation. And so we had some volunteers recently, and this was one who was there I think she was there for a month and a half, and she just loved it. She spent every morning in school, and then just went and did some kite surfing in the afternoon and did some work. Sometime? I don't know. I have no idea when she ever did work, but she loved it. So to go back to the initial story of the toilet being rebuilt, if it's built for the wrong reasons, or if it's built just to make the money, then it will always need to be rebuilt. The whole point is to build it with the community and for them, not just for you. Not so that you feel better, but so that you're actually making an impact for them. Thank you. Questions? Yeah?
Thank you. That was a terrific presentation. I do think that there's a lot of people who want to just do habit for the I want to feel good aspect. But for a person, let's say, who's working full time and they do only have 2 weeks, how can they participate? Is it better that they just take a holiday and that's it?
I mean, if for our specific program, then yeah. But, you know, this is one story of many. I think if one of the other things that I kind of didn't really go into is that if you do want to make an impact, but you don't have the resources or time to do something like setting up your own one or volunteering time, then the best thing is always to just research the fuck out of any charity you're giving money to and then give your money, which is why I was saying money rather than time sometimes is just a better way to feel good about yourself. Yeah?
Yeah, so I've been living in Uganda for like 6 months, and I've witnessed firsthand like how those like NGOs like work and then like everything that happens there. So that's great, like raising that awareness. What was your biggest motivation or drive to start your project?
We just always wanted to do it. I've always wanted to just do something that kind of had more of an impact. And when we started Skippers, it was from the very beginning when the day we came up with the idea of Skippers, we were like, it will only work for us if it does something on the side. And because we're in tech, we're like, that's going to be what we do. So it wasn't like something we came up with. It was just part of the conversation from the very first day, I think. Yeah?
How confident are you that these 16-year-old boys are not finding some way to the point? I mean, I don't know programs, but I mean, first time, straight there.
And it wouldn't be so bad.
Look.
Also, a good point.
16-year-old boys are very resourceful and will always find a way around things. We do just regularly have to check because we can see what they're accessing. We can see what sites they're accessing, and there are occasionally times we have to add a new one to the list. But, you know, like, nobody's perfect. Like I showed, we learn how they get around things. But yeah, it's not foolproof. For sure. Yeah.
I'm curious about the communication that you're having with parents. So I know that the project is continue going on, but one of the things that I'm thinking is how you visualize the future career for these kids. Are they going to find a job in the city, or how do you present them like maybe they're going to find better opportunities outside of the city, and maybe the parents are going to be like, are you taking our kids away or something? I don't know.
I mean, it's like I said, when we first kind of started thinking about it, we invited the parents to the career talks as well. And so we were talking about how to do online marketing or whatever random shit the Nomad was talking about. And that was, I think, for the parents completely just like whoosh, you know, they had no concept or understanding of how that was going to be feasible, because it wasn't. Their kids had never seen a laptop. They're not going to be content creators, you know. But I think we sort of changed the conversation in this school and made it more about the fact that any computer skills will improve their ability to move up and career progress even within hospitality. So we're saying we're not trying to take them away. We're just giving them skills that they can then use later in life to improve their job prospects. But then, you know, you can still also tell the kids that they can dream bigger and stuff. But it gives the parents something that's a bit more tangible for like, why should they learn how to use Google Sheets? It's because, you know, if you want to be working in a hospitality, you need to do stock takes. Okay, so you need to do spreadsheets. But then still also doing the career talks and telling the kids, but you could also be a coder. You know, maybe.
Gateway drug.
Got it.
they arrive in acclimatization challenges?
Good question. I think I might turn it around a little bit and not just say just the issues, but the things that they might not know about. I think one of the things that a lot of nomads are surprised at, and this would be more of an issue in our town especially, is the constant like haggling. Like you constantly have to negotiate everything. You are considered to be white, so you've got more money, so you have to kind of pay a little bit of a higher price. But I think some of the other things that surprise people, especially within Kenya and within Diani, is just the extreme friendliness and good internet and English level that they're like, oh well, but I thought this was Africa. I thought I wouldn't be able to talk to anyone. But everyone speaks really good English and or speaks English really well. I don't. I grew up in Tanzania, not Kenya. Their English is not as good, but my Swahili's better. So what can I say? But yeah, I think, to be honest, I think there's now, compared to 6-7 years ago, the amount of information that there is about being a nomad in Africa or East Africa is a lot more. So if someone wants to go do your research, there's a lot more people who've traveled and who've written about it. Whereas I think when we first went and when we started, and probably around the time you were there a lot, there was very little information. So, a lot more people are going, and I know a lot of them will rave about it and some will not. But I think do your research, and there's a lot more information out there.